Welcome. My name is Marty Major with FLIR Security's TCX Training Department. And we're here today to talk about setting up sites or site configuration, site setup in the Meridian Admin Center application. So you can see I've already got the Admin Center application open. This is the dashboard that we're presented when we open up the application. And there's a number of different ways we can get to different things. And as I mentioned, we're here today to talk about site setup. And you can see it right here on the dashboard on the advanced settings. But you'll notice if I click on it, alternatively, I could have gone to the sidebar on the left, clicked on System, and then clicked on Site Setup. Now, the reason we're talking about site setup is a very important reason. Notice I have 3 cameras. I've got a map. That's what this icon is for. And I actually have 3 layouts already set up in Control Center. And you'll note that basically it's just all displayed in a big straight line. Now, 3 cameras, a map, a couple layouts, not that big a deal. But when you get into thousands of cameras, or at least hundreds of cameras, the grouping of things in this manner can start to get a little annoying. You're trying to find cameras, you're trying to find entities, basically maps, etc. that you need, and we need some way to group like items, and that's what sites are all about. And the reason we set this up is because, as you see right here, how these sites look here, let me go down to Control Center, which I already have open. And I want you to note that the navigation tree that is used by the end user or the guard or the operator will appear exactly here in the navigation tree as it does back in our Admin Center site setup area. So this is why we want to group like type items, and we can see how easy it is to do. We simply have add site up here. Now there's a number of things we can do. We can actually make it a physical sort of site and then set these up accordingly, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a second. Or we can actually just group like things. So if I go ahead and click on an add site, let's say we can call this cameras or whatever. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense, this one. But I just want to show you what it does. And you can see right here, once the site is created, it's basically a folder. And then you can add things to that. So if this was my camera folder, of course, I would just take my cameras and I would drag them in one at a time to the camera folder or site. And now you can see, again, this is probably not the best example, but you can see what it does. It basically just attaches them to that group. Let's go ahead and let's save is already configured. Let's go ahead and add another site now, and let's just call this, layouts. You can see what I'm basically doing here is I'm taking all the content that I have of different things, and I'm just creating a little folder where I can hold these all. Now, this is not a huge time saver right here for different type of things. Possibly if I had 100 cameras, maybe I'd set up a PTZ cameras folder. Maybe I only had 10 of those 100 cameras for PTZs, and I don't want to look through my entire list of 100 cameras every time I'm looking for one of the PTZs. I could simply set up a PTZ camera folder, expand it, and now I have all my PTZ cameras associated with that particular site. Again, sites in the unified VMS, that's latitude, horizon, and meridian, all have this same sort of grouping structure. It allows us, again, to group like things. Now, this is the obvious way, right? Just to group things in folders of things that sort of matches what they are. However, there's a better functional way to use sites, I think, and that's more of a sort of geographic way. So how do we take things out of sites? Well, we simply grab it and drag it right back to the main system itself, and this will sort of break that connection that it had between the site itself, and now it is available again to be used to put into another site. Now that's one important thing to note. Once something is within a site, like all my cameras are still within the camera site, they cannot be added then to a different site. They would simply come out of this site and go into this site. So again, I'm going to do the same thing with all of the cameras that we just saw, so you can see how easy it is to take them back out of sites. And those sites that I just created were just as an example for something that we can use. But let's take a look at a different type of site, and I think you'll understand the real benefit of sites here. So let's go ahead and add a site, and let's call this one, Building 17. Maybe you're on a campus with a number of different buildings with a whole bunch of cameras and layouts and maps all spread about the entire area. Well, if you create something like this, you can sort of functionally put things where they actually go. For instance, say this camera right here, my aerial camera is actually in Building 17. I would probably want to drag it into that building. However, maybe I want to be a little bit more fine-tuned than that. And we can also see how we can join sites or nest sites within other sites. So let's create another site. We'll call this one First Floor. Hit Save. And now that the first floor site is there, what we're going to do is drag that into the Building 17 site. And now you can see the first floor site is available and attached and associated with Building 17. So let's just call this one then the second floor. Hit save. And again, now I have to drag it in. I don't want to associate it with the first floor. I just want to associate it with the building. And see, now you can see physically, again, if I have multiple buildings, I could have a site for each building. I could have a site for each floor in that building. And then maybe in my floor 1 layout, I've got all my cameras from the first floor, in Building 17, and I simply add the layout there. I would do the same with my floor 2 layout. And as you can see now, I get a report there. The operator gets a report that there's something going down at the receptionist desk at the second floor. Instead of looking through all of the cameras, maybe they got 200 cameras, maybe they don't know which one camera that is. By setting things up in this hierarchical structure, it becomes very, very easy for operators to find the things they need to find. So now I get the report. I simply click on my building. I click on my second floor. I click on my layout in Control Center, of course, and then I'm looking right at all the cameras that I need to be able to make a reaction to. So I think you can see there's a number of different ways to use sites. It's quite easy to manipulate them and take things out, put things in. Maybe I want this map here to be associated with my Building 17. No, it's basically just a way to associate either like items or items that are geographically linked to each other in the manner that I did here with Building 17 and Floor 1 and Floor 2. But it's a very powerful tool. Again, now, as I pointed out, as this is all set up and you set this up in a way that can be used more easily by your operators, you can see the navigation tree and Control Center is changed accordingly, and it's set up in the manner that we actually did it in Admin Center.